infidelity cases, somebody cheat. I don't think guys should have female friends like that. I don't think men should be close friends with other women. I don't think women should be close friends with other men. What's the boundary in your relationship? What has to stop? What do you have to stop doing? And it's not enough just to stop doing certain things. Stop flirting with other women, guys. But that's not enough. Start flirting with your lady. Stop showing affection to Shaquiqui and Bonquisha and start showing affection to your wife, to your lover.
No, babe. See, that's the point. You will never be able to prevent somebody from cheating on you, lying to you, or convince somebody to love you. So dictating what they can and can't do isn't going to change anything. Our triggers, insecurities, and feelings are our responsibility. There is no letting our partner do something or not letting our partner do something. We are not their parents. Our boundaries are about what we will and won't accept, not about changing what other people do. Regulating who your partner talks to, what they wear, what they are and aren't allowed to do is not a boundary, it's control.
Of the opposite sex when you're in a relationship. I get this question a lot and I just want to address it, especially for the young lady that messaged me about it. You can absolutely have friends of the opposite sex, but you better understand what boundaries mean. First and foremost, your spouse should feel and be your very best friend. I don't care if you've known your best friend for 30 years and y'all grew up together and y'all love each other and it's all platonic. That's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start going to that person before your spouse for advice, when you start making your spouse feel like second fiddle to that person, when y'all are a little too touchy-feely, when you're not including your spouse in your relationship, if you're friends with anybody of the opposite sex, your spouse should also have a relationship with that person. So it's all about the boundaries. If you are disrespecting your spouse for that friend, now we have a problem. Nobody should come before your spouse on any occasion for any reason. And if that is the case, it's a problem.
Not friends with females solely to be their friend.
Now, I have female friends. I have strict, mature boundaries because I'm married. Happily married, by the way. I don't spend a lot of time with my female friends. I don't text them a lot. I don't talk to them a lot over the phone. Catch up once in a while one-on-one, but usually we'll be in a group context. Other than that, there's not a lot of deep connection there. And that's because my wife is my female friend. She's the one I'm going to spend the most time with. We're going to talk about our struggles, our dreams, our goals, our passions. And when I was younger, I did hang out with some females just for the potential of dating them. But looking back now, that seems like such a cowardly thing to do. I mean, if I wanted to date them, I should have just said something. If you're honest and you put yourself out there, hey, maybe it'll work. And if it doesn't, well, then you can move on. So can men and women be friends? Sure, but I think it can only be so deep. If it gets past a certain point, somebody's there for the wrong reason.
I had when I was dating as a high valley woman. He could not have girlfriends, lady friends, whatever you want to call them. Here's why. Hello, my name is Carla and restoring healthy mindsets is my thing. This is a rule. There are exceptions. Just FYI. When a man has more girlfriends than guy friends, one, it's showing you that he's more inclined with his feminine energy. Why can't he be making some guy friends? Why does he resonate more with girls? Two, when a man has more lady friends, that also means that either he's into her or she's into him. She's waiting for him or he's waiting for her. There are obviously exceptions, but most of the time there's something going on, especially if they've been friends for years. Third thing you need to consider is if you date men that have a lot of girlfriends or lady friends, you are always going to be fighting the attention of that man. Be ready to share your time with his girlfriends, and that is just something that I do not want to do. So I made sure that the men that I was seeing or dating, as soon as I saw, oh, she's my best friend, she's a girl, bye. I'm extremely territorial and I like to feel like the queen. Also, you need to consider when a guy has a lot of lady friends, it does not do you justice. It does not do you any good whenever he's texting them at night or whenever they're texting him or calling him because they're going through something. It is a boundary that should not be crossed and that needs to be respected. Let me know if you want me to make a video. If you're already with a man and he has lady friends, there's ways to handle that.
Whew. Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Button 91. It's going to be a crazy conversation. Look, the question we're asking right now is, you're in a relationship, can you have opposite sex friends, right? We're in that conversational space today. Can you have opposite friends when you are in a relationship? Well, you already know my position. I have a female best friend, or a woman best friend, if you want to call it that, better put. But I will be honest with you, I have a very instinct perspective. I don't believe men and women should be friends. If I'm honest with you, I don't. There are exceptions to the rule, and most of us are not an exception to the rule. That's my position. There are exceptions to a rule, and many of us are not the exception to the rule. And I am not the exception to the rule to most people. I am definitely a part of the you shouldn't be my friend. Yeah, that's that simple. Okay? The only friend that I have is the best friend that I have, and that's the only woman I'm friends with. If you're in a relationship and I know you and you know me, I'm not your friend that you need to keep me to a space where, because at the end of the day, I'm a hunter. I've got hunter instincts, and I'll be very honest with you. I'm still recovering from Egypt, so the hunter is still in me. But we need to have a real conversation, because is that a bad mindset? Is that a bad mindset? Is it a bad mindset when you can't keep friendships with the opposite sex? Are we doing ourselves a disservice by putting ourselves in a space where we can't have friendships of the opposite sex without it turning into something? Is that a self-discipline issue? Is that a problem with us as men or women if we can't do it? Are we being insecure if we can't have friendships of the opposite sex? There's many questions we can ask in that space, and we're gonna have a discussion today about it. I would love to know your input as well. So if you're here in the chat, make sure you comment down below, and type in there. Let us know your thoughts as well, because we're gonna have one of those great conversations today. And I'm not gonna do it alone. I'm gonna be joined by my boy Jay, and we're gonna have one of those instant conversations. So I hope you're ready, because you're gonna get some interesting piece. Brother Jay, what's Gucci, baby? You're muted, but what's good, bro?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Just a bit tired, but looking forward to the conversation. We've talked about this for years at this point, so I understand your point of view. You understand mine, but let's have that conversation, because it's actually especially
all right,
because last week we heard it, right? Last week, when we went to last week, that was part of the conversation as well with at the event. So let's have fun with it.
Yeah, listen, look, it's one of those conversations be quite interesting, right? So, okay, let me ask your opening statement. Okay, first question I'm going to ask is, if you are in a relationship, that's the first question. If you are in a relationship, can you have an opposite sex friend? According to you, Jay, if you are in a relationship, can you have an opposite sex friend? That's the question we're asking right now. If you're in a relationship, that's the first one I'm going to start with. Talk to me, bro.
My answer here is probably different from what probably we said about this before, but the question is yes, because I don't feel that just having a friendship is the issue. I think anyone can be friends. We've all had friends before, during, and after whatever we've been in. I think the issue is, okay, but what next? And as the video showed, correct boundaries in place. Are people actually your friends? There's a difference between a platonic friend and someone who is not platonic, whatever the opposite word is. And I think that's the real issue, because people are friends every day, people talk every day, but it's what do you do with that friendship, and is it really a friendship? That's what I would say. I'll have to delve into it a bit more.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. Definitely understand that. I think the next question or word that needs to be asked really and truly is, what is our definition of the word friend? You know what I mean? What is our definition of the word friend? Because I think that's where the conversation gets a little bit intriguing, a little bit interesting. It gets a little bit, some way. What is the definition of friend? And I think for me, that's where I think it also gets a little bit tricky, because I think a lot of times people call people friend who you're just cool with. It's not your friend, you're just cool with. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to become your friend, but we don't really have many words to be able to describe some of the relationships without it becoming almost disrespectful. Like, if someone says you're my acquaintance, people are going to get offended. If I say, oh, I just know him, it's kind of people get offended. So I totally get that. I think for me, it's about setting parameters in terms of what you mean by friendship in that space. You know what I mean? Let me ask a further question there before you go into that. Is, okay, so we said friend. What about best friend, though? So in that sense, in a relationship, can you have an opposite sex best friend? Your honest opinion.
again, you're gonna have these things, before I come along, right? But it goes back to, is it really a friendship? Because even in marriage counseling, what they talk about is you're gonna have to accept that your friendships, even best friendships, are gonna change. Usually we talk about as they get older, it changes, but the reason why it changes as we get older because we start settling down, we start being in our long-term situations. I'm saying that because not everyone does get married, but in our long-term situations where we're gonna have to adjust and we realize certain things. How we were when we were kids is very different how we're gonna be when we become adults. So you may have a female or male best friend if you're a woman, but you expect their relationship to change. Where you're still trying to operate in ways where, let's say the person's messaging you at nighttime, 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m. From a man's point of view, a proper man is going to ask you about that. He's going to raise some questions. As men, we're going to be able to see in that particular guy what's going on with him. Same like for the ladies. I think we all know people who were best friends, but now they're married. I think we all know people that's just happened to. So we know it's a possibility. So again, the answer is yeah, you can, but things are going to change now that I'm here. It's just part of life, and we're going to have to really pay attention to what is that actual relationship consisting of. Because some people, like one of the ladies mentioned, some people are masquerading as a friend or a best friend, and at the right time, the dark arts, yeah, at the right time, they're going to come and swoop in. So I think everyone needs to understand this exists and just to not be naive.
Yeah, and I think that's the realest thing, right? I think that whole point is that are you going to be honest about the actual interaction that you actually are having, and whether you actually believe this actually to be a friendship. And I think a lot of times, like I said, a lot of people lie to themselves. I'm not one of those people. If I say I can't pretend. And I think my thing is like this is why when I say like someone put in the chat J and C way, J and C way are cool, but if I'm in a relationship, that friendship can't be the same way. Like how I joke, how I flirt, how I move around, how I move back. Like I do all lots of things. I'm single and I move around in however I move. But I won't be taking you to dinner and stuff like that. Like I have specific boundaries. You get what I'm saying to you? For me personally, I'm very strict as well, but just because of the fact that I know me and I don't want to give myself an inch. Okay, so I have different boundaries for me than I would have for most people because I know that there is something in me, that dark beast is always there. And you have to curb that. And so because I know that beast is just lurking behind the scenes, I don't even want to give it even an inch. I don't even want to give them even an inch. I don't want to even give it, I don't want you to even peek his head and say peekaboo. I don't want you to even have that chance. So for me personally, I make sure that I have very strict boundaries if I'm in a relationship. If I'm single, I don't really care. But if I'm in a relationship, I change all dynamics of my female friendships. You can't call me late. I get offended when people do that. Like unless you're dying, that's not gonna be happening. And again, I guess context of even being late because again, when you talk about even late, I have people in America. You know what I mean? So what's late for me might not be late for them, right? But then again, I guess that comes back to that transparency because of what I've seen. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, having a conversation, but you got to walk out.
Mm.
I don't like that. Can't lie to you. I don't like that. I don't like doing it and I don't like seeing it. You know what I'm saying to you? If I have to have a conversation where I walk outside, or I have a conversation where if I can't show you the conversation, we're already in a problem, right? If I know, and that's for me. But going back to that original point, it's just like I said, everyone calls people friend, but I think what we have to be honest about is some people are there who are placeholders, ego boosters. Some people are there financially to support you. Some people are there that support your career, but you know that they're a little bit naughty. But when you're in a relationship, they got to go. Like, and I think that's the truth of the matter. I think people need to be honest about what kind of attachments they have that aren't really a friend. And if you're willing to let that go when you go in a relationship, I don't really care. As long as you're honest about it and you understand it, I'm good with it. But if you're not and you're pretending, the worst thing for me, and I think women do this a lot, I know they might say men do it, but I think women do it a lot just because I'm a man. I don't date men, so I don't know. But I would say that women do this a lot, right? It is the pretense of he's a friend. And I'm like, Negro, no, he ain't.
I want to say as well, just because you might see him as a friend doesn't mean that he does, and vice versa. So because that exists, that means the person inherently is not a friend. Because it has to be platonic going both ways, not just one way. If someone is feeding you, then you need to. The type of person I am, that needs to be completely shut down. Because at what point are they going to stop liking you? That don't make sense. And one of the things that I was actually thinking about when you were speaking, and something that I learned a couple of years ago, there are some friends that don't actually like you, but they've grown attached to you. They've grown attached to what you was able to give them, whether that be emotionally, as you mentioned, financially, or whatever it is. So when you do get with someone, they can show the same signs, and it can come across as if they like you, but no, it's because they have attachment issues. That's all it really is. Attachment issues that they haven't dealt with themselves. And even in a cyclical way, they could also think that they do like you as well, but they just haven't dealt with their attachment issues. They just love the way you treated them, but they don't actually like you for you. But that could also get in the way. You got people who are jealous, people who are envious. They don't necessarily, like you, but the fact that you've been able to move on, the fact that you've been able to be happy and etc., they obviously want the same too. They might not even want you, but they want someone who is like you. All of these can create confusing situations, which are why I say operate with wisdom and not naivety at all times when it comes to the situations. Because, bro, look, me and you have both been guys who have been on the other side of that equation. We've been the guys, that she's telling her man not to worry about, right? So we know how the dark arts go. We know how the game goes. And I'll be honest, even though we might not know, we can't even say that we haven't been the main guy while she's doing her thing as well. We just don't know. We generally don't know. So you just have to pay attention to the signs and speak on it. I agree with the fact that these are the boundaries that we speak on, that, listen, this isn't a friendship. You can't fool me. You can't gaslight me. And then we see what that other person is going to do about it. At that point, if they continue to lie about it, then, hey, we got to make an executive decision. But to me, this is a mature conversation that mature people truly do have, because it seems people who are happily married are the ones who understand my best friend is my wife. My best friend is my husband. The one that I pour into, the one that I share the most emotion with, the one that I tell everything to is my partner, not a friend. And I know that's a winning formula for marriage. So to people that's out there, be very careful of people who are not happily who don't have a happily marriage mindset, or they're still leading with trauma. So they see everything as fair, everything as control. Be very careful. I mean, in the social media world, you have to take things with a pinch of salt, because regardless of our opinions, it should lead you to a place of happiness in your actual situation.
No word of a lie, bro. You're telling the truth. This is why I don't call many people friend. Like, I can't lie to you. It's just not me. I think a lot of times people want to say somebody's a friend, and it is not the correct case. I think also within the spec of situation, right? And we'll go to it in a second, because I think you just kind of spoke about it, about, your partner being your best friend. I think also the problem that we have is that a lot of people's, and this is, again, if you've been on the streets, if you've been out there, if you've done some stuff, I've done some stuff, guys. I've done some stuff, and listen, and let me be frank, because let me stop joking about it. Let me be frank. People that are in relationships, right? How you connect to somebody through that relationship, it's not through sex, it's through emotional connection. So the problem is that, but the problem that people are having in relationships specifically is they start emotionally cheating before it's even happened. Now, that's why I start asking a question about whether you're actually a friend of that person. Because when you're actually a friend of that person, like if I look at you, bro, I don't have no connection to you. I don't feel that way at all towards you. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Don't matter how much we talk, I ain't never gonna feel that way towards you, right? And that's why I said that it's an exception versus the rule, because people think they're the rule and it's not the exception. Like, you're right, there's some women that will say, we heard this the other day, like someone will say, I never knew, and it's like, nah, I'm gonna hold you to that, but no, you ignoring, right? And a lot of times people end up ignoring, right? Because that person wouldn't just suddenly make a move. Like, see, men are, if a man is being your friend, he's afraid to come to you through the front door.
Yeah.
So there's no way that you didn't see some of those signs, because at the end of the day, if he wasn't coming through that back door, he would have come for the front one, right? But he didn't go for that. He went for the back door. Now, of course, at the end of the day, there are rare cases where someone has literally been lying the whole entire time. Well, that friendship is done. You shouldn't even like that person after, because they've lied the whole entire time and they've literally made a move on you without even considering you. Okay, so so that's not a situation. But a lot of times, I think, like I said, I think we're talking more here about, are you being honest about actually what the friendship actually is, and then, like I said, how people jailbreak. One of my first videos on YouTube was about this jailbreaking a relationship. Was that you use a friendship route? You know what I'm saying to you? Use a friendship route, and you become friends, and then you emotionally connect with that person. Once you emotionally connect, from there it is dangerous. You know what I mean? Because at least if somebody just has sex with you, they can go like, you know what, that was stupid. I had sex with you, but I ain't trying to do that again, and they leave you. But once you emotionally connect, you've tethered yourself to somebody. You know what I'm saying to you? And so, in that situation, how you protect yourself is the same thing that you do with Satan in the Garden of Eden. You don't have conversation, right? So when people are having conversation with people and emotionally connecting, they are breaking the boundaries of their own relationship, which is why I don't. This is why when I was in relationships, female friends, I became militant with them, because for me, one, I wasn't very good at holding very good boundaries, and two, emotionally, it can catch up with you real quick. So unless there's a specific reason as to why I'm calling you, maybe there's something I need to do, or this quickly, I don't need to be having conversations about conversations with women when I'm in a relationship and have so many female friends around me. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily need to have that. But then again, that's coming from somebody who's an assassin. So you know what I mean? If you're an assassin, I have a different mindset. For those of you who have never assassinated, you're going to see things slightly differently. But as an assassin, let me tell you, don't think that your innocence in this particular situation is going to cause your innocence is going to be how do I say this? Your ignorance, is going to be free. Ignorance here, the Bible says, do not be ignorant of the devices of the enemy. Don't be ignorant, because bear in mind, there's a lot more assassins like me who are worse off. That's what I'm going to say for now.
And I think, do you know what? The reason why I love this conversation, sorry, my thing keeps on slipping down, but the reason why I love this conversation, because we're dealing with things beyond the surface level of whether people can be friends, because they can. But what 100% of what people are dealing with or have dealt with is the details that go into it. And you said it just now, yeah. A lot of people just pretend. A lot of people are not even truthful with themselves. A lot of people are not healed. I'm going to put it that way. A lot of people are not healed. So whatever the reason is that they want to ignore certain things, you know, or they want to go about things in a particular way, sometimes it's to protect the feeling of being wrong. It's to protect the feeling of, do you know what? Have I been getting it wrong all this time? Or I don't want to sever what is making me feel good. And I think that one there is an understated thing that a lot of people do have. There are certain friends that just purely make you feel good, and you don't want to cut it off. I understand. The problem is, it's not a real friendship. Absolutely, it's not a real friendship. And I think when we get to a certain age, you have to evaluate the people that surround you and why you have them around you in the first place. When Kodra's speaking about from where we stand as assassins, what we notice is that let's call a spade a spade. There's a lot more people who lie about these things than are actually being genuine and truthful. And we know this and we see this. So it's always going to be raised as a question, what is going on here? And I think 98% of the time where I've had to address this with actual friends or exes and whatnot, I've been right. They've been the one trying to fight me and do all sorts, and you know, but somehow within 1-2 months, the guy comes along and says, yeah, you know what, I do actually like you. Or they stop talking to the lady. And so that kind of makes you think, what actually is going on? Because I have genuine female friends that under no circumstances will I even think about taking it there with. But I don't speak to them every day. I don't speak to them every week. Sometimes I don't even speak to them every month. I speak to them maybe quickly on Insta with a post, or when I see them, I might get invited somewhere. There is a clear boundary in what we are. And I'm happy with that. Especially as a man, I want her man to know you don't have to worry about me. I even had to tell one lady, stop bringing me up to your man. Stop it. Because she's bringing me up for good reasons. But I had to say to her, he's going to start thinking, do you like this guy or something? Is this the type of guy that you want? Like, a lot of people don't realize that. And for me, there was nothing there for me, but there's some people in that situation, no matter how many times they say no, 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 next minute they're probably going to think, but do I though? Do I really? There was another lady who was calling a guy a best friend, best friends. How they met, she used to like him, he didn't like her, but they became best friends. Long story short, she used to use his apartment to cook because she has a cooking company. One day, he literally tried to throw himself onto her, and she couldn't understand it. Wow, what's going on? But what I had to say to her is, but you're a flirt. You're good peoples, but you're an absolute flirt. So that can come up, that can give any guy the wrong impression. And he felt comfortable enough that he thought that you'd be okay with it, that you would reciprocate. She said she didn't. She said she was upset, didn't really go back there. But these are the situations that we also always need to be careful of. Just have those boundaries. Like, I pride myself in not putting myself in those situations. I'm not gonna just see, or oh, you never know, or it's not like that. No, I expect it to be like that. If it's not, it's not. But let me lead from now with those boundaries, so I don't get myself into a silly situation.
Yeah, listen, and I think the key thing here also is, right. The key thing here is also as well, like, and I think this title, as you said, don't bring my name up to your man, right? And I want to make this very clear. See, when you start emotionally connecting, yeah, someone's name starts being in somebody's mouth too long. And this is why, when you're somebody who pays attention to your actual partner, the reason why a lot of men might not catch their woman is because they don't pay attention, right? They're already not paying attention. So that's why, that's why that happens, right? And a lot of times, and the same reversing for women too, right? If you don't pay attention to your partner, this ends up happening. Because here's one thing that ends up happening: routines change, and the conversational styles change, right? Here's one thing that people don't realize. Okay, so I'm quite and you'll know this, Jay, as well yourself. When you spend enough time with somebody, their mannerisms start rubbing off on you. So I know that I have a way of talking. I have a way of moving my hands when I talk. I have certain words that I start saying. I'm like, you're moving mad, right? What people don't realize is that I'm going to say this carefully. Every individual, that person, being strong-willed, strong-minded, knows who they are, knows where they're going, right? Similar to almost how cults are run, in a sense, right? People get influenced by that person. So when you spend a lot of time with that person, they start cultivating you. So when you're in that situation with somebody, like for instance, for me, right? How my audience will say, you're moving mad. Why are they saying that? Because I've started saying it. Right? So when you start spending time with me, if you're spending too much time with me and you're emotionally connecting with me, you're starting to pick up my words. Now, if your partner's sharp, he'll be like, wait, hold on. You start saying some different lingos all of a sudden. Like, why is that? Why is that a thing that you've been keeping on saying? Do you know what I mean? You'll pick up certain things. Then my name starts getting mentioned because what ends up happening is people start mentioning stories. Oh, he does this or he does that. He was doing this with it. You start hearing these stories that seem to be innocuous. They're not innocuous. They're actually because the heart is speaking out and they don't realize they're confessing. So when you start noticing these changes, like, wait, hold on. Why didn't I mention this person's name? I keep mentioning this person's name. And I because obviously, like I said, I've been in situations. It's like, you will know because of the energy shift, the way that I talk, and the way that I advise, even as well, right? The person you going back, if you're going back to that relationship, you're gonna know that I was there, because my advice is gonna be good. Don't get it twisted, but just know that it has a voice, it has a sound. So that person, if they're paying attention, they're gonna be like, wait, where did you get that from? Because whether it's good or not, the sound of my voice, the sound of my advice is coming through. I'm just telling you, as somebody who's an assassin who's jailbreaked relationship, and when you've been cheated on, you also know, because you start seeing a person's routine, the energy shift, the way they start talking to you, the way their energy starts to change, how they touch you begins to be different. So when you're actually in tune with somebody, these things start happening. So what am I saying? I'm saying this, right? That I know that I don't want to spend too much time with the opposite sex when I have somebody who's of the opposite sex already. You see what I'm saying to you? I married you, or I wanted to date you. Sorry, I haven't married anybody, but I wanted to date you and get married to you because I felt like, you know what? You were the compadre that I needed. You were the one that I needed. Yeah, two becoming one. Right? So if I have female friends, I'm gonna be like you, Jay. I don't need to talk to you every day. I don't need to be having conversations with you every day. I don't need to be doing the back and forth with you every day. I don't need it. It's not necessary, right? Because I already have one of you who I'm dating and who I'm in a relationship with and who I'm trying to marry. So am I saying don't have an opposite sex friend? No, I'm saying that there needs to be a cap and there needs to be a limitation on it, because their energy starts to shift. And when people are spending too much time with each other, it's shifting. They're rubbing off on each other. Right? So that's why I said you'll know, because the way that person talks, the way that person moves, the way that person begins to reason, it begins to shift and move. I've seen it way too many times. I'm looking at a person like, or you talk to a female friend and you're like, I'll tell them, listen, don't say my name. I beg you don't, because you don't realize what you're doing. If that man is sharp, he's picking up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those things start to happen, and you'll know when I'm doing something stupid, because very much so my behavior will start to shift too. Right? So it's spending too much time with opposite sex can be a bit of a problem in that respect. But again, not everyone's friend is someone who's not a friend. I'm just kind of just putting it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think on that, Coach, I think, because I saw someone in the comments, there's a difference between platonic friends and the types of friends we're talking about. If someone is strictly platonic, everyone in that circle has the respect to understand what needs to be done. So that's most of the time it's safe. I mean, some people do wake up and think, do you know, I actually do like this person. It's up for debate whether they always did. I don't know. I know Monique's husband, they were friends for what, 20 years? And in their late 30s is when he said, you know what, when he come back from tour, we're going to speak. So it does happen, right? But what we're trying to address are people who really deep down, you know, they're not a friend. So how are you going about it? So, you know me, I like to give stories. So there was one time, I took a lady out for a date. It was just one date. I wasn't the type of man who I am now. So when I took her out on a date, I only had one thing in my mind. She made it clear she had been there, done that. She wanted a committed situation. And in that moment, before the date was finished, I was like, yeah, nah, that's not where I am. So she's not going to get a second date. She did want a second date after that. But yeah, we just went our separate ways verbally. But over the next 18 months, she would still message me from time to time. But at this point, because I had checked out, it's going to sound silly, but I'm literally forgetting that I took this girl out on a date. So she's asking me for man-to-man advice, and I'm for advice about men, sorry. And I'm giving her advice. I'm just messaging, yeah, this and that. And then it came to a point where she was asking me, why would someone take out a girl just once on a date but not do it again? And I'm forgetting I took her out on a date. I'm forgetting. So I'm answering, maybe didn't like you in the first place, maybe this, maybe that. Honestly, at this point, this is what, 12 years ago, I think, or more. I'm just answering it as a friend, as an uncle, as a big bro. And then one time, I was in a relationship eventually, and she messaged me when I was literally sitting next to my girl at the time. Now, the girl I was with at the time was an extremely insecure person. I'm not saying I was the best behaved, but she was an extremely insecure person, to the point where, and ladies, you can control men emotionally and all that things as well. I felt like I had to delete messages from all women that was in my life because I didn't want to hear the wahala, even though it was platonic. Her mindset was every woman that's a friend wants me. That was her mindset. So I'm sitting next to her. This lady sends me a message, but it's in continuation to a conversation that we had days ago. So it was a ... Now she's looking at me thinking, what's that about? Etc. I said, I don't know. So I just get up and go to the toilet. I come back and she's taken my phone and she's messaged the girl. I'm like, what have you said? Now, she actually deleted the message that she sent, but what she said to me was, she just told her, he's got a girl, just leave him alone. You shouldn't be messaging him at this time. The girl who was on the other side of the phone said, it wasn't a problem any other time, LOL. Just because he's with you, it doesn't matter. And I said, wow, okay. And at that moment in time, that's when I remembered who this girl actually was. It's someone who I took out 18 months ago, and it's someone who likely still likes me. But I'm calling this girl my friend. At this moment in time, I said, nah, Jason, you were actually the stupid one in this situation. And I had to delete and block because I felt, that's a lesson learned. I shouldn't have been in the situation. So my missus at the time had every right to question me on it. And I give a second scenario where I realized at times I had better conversations with my female friends than I had with the girl I was with at the time. Not that I like that, by the way. I want to be able to have wonderful conversations with my missus, which is why I love my missus. One of the reasons why I love my missus now, because we can talk about everything, everything. And one time, one of my exes, he addressed it. Like, what? It seems like you have better conversations with this girl who's your best friend. Who is she? What's going on? I just said, nah, she kind of likes my friend. They've kissed, etc. But she wasn't having it because she couldn't understand how can me and this girl have such great conversation, but me and my actual missus, me and her, are not. But again, I had to say to that friend at the time, this is the situation. So I want you to understand. Obviously, we're not gonna, because literally it was speaking every day. We're not gonna speak every day, all day. There's gonna be a bit of boundaries. I hope you understand. If it was you, I'll do the same thing. Now, me and that girl, obviously, we're not together. We break up sometime after that. But I didn't revisit that friendship or try to take it back to where it was, simply because I started to realize there needed to be boundaries in the first place, i.e., friendships need to change. I'm not saying they change instantly, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, but as you start to commit properly, as you start, whether you're engaged or you're married, you need to acknowledge the best scenario is to accept that your friendships are going to change. And that's male and female relationships are all going to change. Everybody has to grow up. That's me, bro.
Bro. And you know what? You said something so powerful, and I think this is where we need to address that, right? The reality of the situation is that a lot of people, you can't talk to your man or you can't talk to your girl. It's that simple. I'll keep it a buck. Because when I look at some of my past relationships, I had the female friends that I had around me, I always remember that I could talk to them and I could talk to them about everything that I couldn't talk to my partner about. That's when I realized there was a problem. There's a problem, there's an issue. Right? But also it came down to also me. I wasn't very good at being able to express myself, and being vulnerable made me scared. So in being in a relationship where I had to kind of show that vulnerability was a little bit more difficult, right? The avoidant attachment style, if you're aware of that, you may know this, right? But the whole point is this. Let me be very real and very, very frank, just so people are watching. A lot of you are talking to the opposite sex because you cannot talk to your partner. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel safe. You don't feel like they create that safe environment for you. You feel judged. You feel like they're never listening. You feel like they're never really present. You feel like, you know what, they're not really listening to you in that moment. So what ends up happening is you have an opposite sex friend who you end up talking to more than you actually talk to your partner. Now, if you're in a relationship, you shouldn't be calling me every single day. And I'm definitely not calling you every single day. This is what me and my best friend, like, whenever we get into a relationship, the conversation drops to an absolute minimum. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Right? Because both of us have understood that when we get in a relationship, our relationship cannot exist the exact same way. I can't call you every single day. I can't talk to you at any time. I can't just rock up whatever. Do you know what I'm saying to you? You're in a relationship with somebody. Boundaries have to be set. I'm willing to keep those boundaries. I'm not a disrespectful person. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Right? And this is where boundaries start becoming a problem, because a lot of people, like I keep saying, are not being honest about what they're actually in. You know what I'm saying to you? Because if somebody tells me to fall back because they're in a relationship with my friend, I'm gonna say, hey, bro, you got it, bro. I'm gonna fall back. Unless she tells me that you're a little bit abusive, then that's a completely different story. I'm gonna fall back, but I'm gonna still be here. That's completely different. But if that's a gentleman that you're with, and he's telling me, bro, you're a little bit close, or she's telling me that he's told you to tell me that I'm a little bit close, I say, hey, babe, please. Let me pack my bag and get the goings, because I don't need to interrupt your relationship. Whilst we're friends, I also understand we're opposite sex friends. It ain't the same, right? It ain't the same. The rules have to be different. So if I can't fall back, I got to ask a serious question, why I can't fall back?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying to you? So for me personally, when I'm in a relationship, the opposite sex friend, I can't be talking to that person every single day, because my partner is a person who I talk to every single day, because that's the person who I want. That's the person who I'm desiring on a daily basis. That's the person who I'm connecting with. That's who I'm sharing my heart with. That's who I'm being emotionally available to. So if you're talking to me every single day, we're gonna have to be a little bit honest. Am I a friend? Or you my friend? You know what I mean? Like, what are you really saying? So a lot of, like I said, it goes back to what I'm saying about a lot of times people are not actually being honest to themselves, that friend is propping up your relationship. In fact, if that friend ain't there, you wouldn't even be in that relationship, because that friend is occupying the emotional space that you are probably lacking in your relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying to you? That's why they're that close. You've kept them that close because they're propping you up. It's like, as long as I talk to you, I can just about make it through this relationship. and you're afraid of losing that relationship. So it's like, let me just keep my friend there. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Yeah.
No, I was just saying that it's making me think as well because, wow, that's so real, It's taken up that emotional space because you can't obviously bring that into a relationship. And it's true because with that is sometimes advice. With that is sometimes emotional validation of however you're feeling. All the things that you wish you had in your relationship. That's why I guess some people get used to having this person there until they get into a relationship where that person says, Mama, don't raise no fool. I know what this is. You might pretend, you might want to gaslight me, but I know what this is. This needs to be broken. And I think, this isn't, we're talking about friends here, but when it comes to exes as well, it's a conversation, as some people like to say, me and my exes should be able to be friends, etc. Listen, from a male point of view, the majority of men, I can't say all men, right? But the majority of men, if you give them an opportunity to taste something they've tasted before and it was sweet, guaranteed they will. They probably won't tell you that as ladies, but as men, we talk. Trust me. And believe me, most men will. Because not a lot of men have those boundaries. Now, especially when a man is single, if he is in his own relationship where he is happy, where he is led by God and everything else, then he knows what he should be or what he should not be doing, even if the opportunity is given to him. But ladies, most men are wired that way, even in Christ. Don't walk around being naive. There's men who will, they could be married with the best woman on earth, but they will disappoint her by entertaining stupid things. So yeah, so the whole exes thing, that needs to be cut out as well. It needs to be cut out. It's too close to home. It's too easy. Some people just continue sleeping with them because they don't want to catch any more bodies. In 2024, we need to be a little more wiser about the people that surround us and why, as Kojo was saying, and why we have them in our lives, because it causes so much problems. And the moment you let go of some of these things and you pour into the relationship, as long as you've got the right relationship or marriage, you realize the game changes for you. You don't have to find validation outside. You don't have to, emotionally pour into something. One of my friends, he had to speak to his mum because the same situation happened where throughout his parents' marriage, she was just kind of abusive. All he really cared about the money he was bringing in. She just didn't have a kind or graceful tongue. So he ended up meeting someone on a bus on his way to work, and he began to basically emotionally cheat. And she found out, rightly so. She wasn't happy with it. She was laying it into him. They was mooting like divorce and things like that until my boy, he had to come in with his sister and say, all right, cool, let me sort this out. And he addressed the dad and said, Dad, what you did is wrong. There should be under no circumstances should you be doing that. You're a married man. You should be focusing on your wife. But he also understood, as a man, he couldn't talk to his wife. There was no respect in our home. And obviously the mum was trying to cuss him, was trying to do all sorts. But as a son, even he had to say, but mum, even in your workplace, people don't like you because of the way you speak to them. You have had paint poured all over your desk. You have had your locker sabotaged for the way you stung people with your mouth. So we fully understand what Dad is saying. And although this is not an excuse, we can see he felt that what this other woman was giving him was something that he wasn't able to get in his marriage. So you now have a choice, whether you need to make those changes and help to save your marriage or continue and break it down. Because he may not cheat, he may not do anything again, but you're going to end up divorced unless things change. And she, made some changes, sorting things out. And it's a good, 10 years since their incident, and they're thriving. So again, there's no excuse for cheating. There's even though I use the man in the example, I know how the world works. I'm not giving any man excuse for cheating, just like it's not women for cheating. I'm just acknowledging some of the excuses or reasons that people give. And when it comes to the friend, the person you talk to, things start off when you are emotionally cheating and they progress because people eventually say, let's meet, let's do this, let's A, B, C. And at that point, one thing we've all watched movies and TV series, just give that person that look, just that look, that silent look, no speaking. You lean in, you start kissing, have passionate sex, and now you're confused. So yeah, we have to cut all that out, man.
Yeah, you ain't telling lies. Definitely. Let's answer some of these questions. Said some. Kathleen said, "How do you have that conversation with someone new that they need to leave their ex alone?" Do you know what? This is a very tough one because how do we say leave your ex alone? I think this is a misstep in the whole direction of the relationship in the beginning, right? If we're saying in the very beginning, this is where we have to establish certain boundaries. I shouldn't say boundaries because I want to establish certain rules that I live my life by, right? There's certain conversations at the very beginning before you get into a deep relationship with somebody. There must be established pillars and foundations, right? Because I remember I was in a relationship and I remember we first started talking and I said to the person, look, I'm a person that don't do this whole I'm going back to my ex talking sort of situation. Yeah, it's not my kind of thing. So if that's your kind of thing, I just want to let you know that's not my kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Right? It's just not my kind of thing. Person said, yeah, cool. I said, look, the only conversation about to have with my ex is that we need to close a particular account. That's it. Once we close that account, we don't need to talk about anything else again. I'm a person that is, once I'm done with that person, I'm done. I move on. I don't need to be talking to you. I don't need to be saying, hey, how you doing? You good? Okay. No. Listen, you're alive. You're well. I don't need to be talking to you. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah. So I brought it up in the early hours of the conversation, in the early hours of the trying to get to know the person, because I wanted them to know that this is something that I rock with, and that I don't want to have this conversation later on, because when it happens later on, then I got to be almost telling you what to do. At that point, we're in a dangerous place, because now it looks like control, and I don't want to be in that space. You know what I'm saying to you? Right? But if I've mentioned it in the beginning, I can tell you later on, say, hey, when we first started dating, I told you, I don't do the ex conversation stuff. You know what I mean? You're now opening dialogue with your ex. It's making me feel uncomfortable. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So because you had that conversation at the very beginning, right? So you got to let people know the terms and conditions before you enter a relationship. There are certain things you don't rock with. That should be at the very beginning of the relationship, not in the middle of it. Now, of course, if somebody hasn't been lying to you and told you they know, or say that their ex popped up and da-da-da, then, that's a different conversation, right? Because then you have to adjust on the fly. But I think it's the same process, which is you can only let someone know how you feel. And look, I think there are points and times where you do have to, and I'm just going to say this, and maybe someone can say control. I'm growing, so let me just say this now. There are points in time where you have to tell someone, listen, F around and find out. Don't play that game with me. I'm not here for it. Because when someone wants, because sometimes what sometimes happens is sometimes people are trying to press that boundary to see what you're going to do and see how far they can push that boundary. And sometimes you have to let them know, listen, don't play that game with me. I'm not here for it. I've told you what I'm about. If you do that, I know what I've got to do. Because the boundaries actually, where they're crossing will actually break the relationship. That's the extreme versions of it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Now, if someone comes and tells you that they suddenly went on a date with their ex at dinner and they're just friends, you might need to start reconsidering that relationship, because they have no respect for you. Because there's no way you should be coming to tell me now that you're on a dinner date with your ex. Again, conversation needs to happen according to the severity of a situation. In certain things, but I don't want to be telling you not to do and not to do. It just gets to get a little bit complicated. But there are times where you have to say to that person, man or woman, if around, you gonna find out, because I'm not here to play that game with you. It's too dangerous for that. You know what I mean? Go for it, bro.
And that's the funny thing is, because to me that's normal. To me, I thought everyone has to tell, a partner at a particular point in time, you see this thing here, I don't like it. If this continues, we done. I thought, everyone has boundaries and everyone has ultimatums. So to me, I thought that's normal. What is it? Is it not normal? Because, we live in 2024, guys. Like 2024, the amount of things that people justify or just get themselves involved in, a lot of people are toxic and don't even realize it. A lot of people are doing things that are unhelpful to their relationships, and they don't realize it. And they may not, and I understand, they may not respond in the best way to that being addressed. So I'll give another example. I was with someone that there's a whole long story behind this, but I'll keep it short. Like almost 2 years prior, they liked each other, but nothing happened. They just became friends. Whilst I was in that person's life, he was doing certain things that made me think this is not just a friend. From the comments he would make, from the times he would call her, the certain things he would say, I'm like, nah, this is a guy that's waiting for the right time. Because the first time around, it just didn't happen. And it came to a point where he had said, when he found out about me and the girl, he had said, if only we tried harder. I.e., if only him, he would have tried harder. And I was like, nah, this is a guy that's waiting for the right time. Because the first time around, it just didn't happen. And it came to a point where he had said, when he found out about me and the girl, he had said, if only we tried harder. I.e., if only and the girl I was with tried harder. For oh, where's that comment coming from? Obviously, in his mind, there was still a possibility. Even up to this point where she's the one that told me this, she kept on defending the friendship. She kept on saying, no, he doesn't like me. He doesn't this. He doesn't that. He doesn't this. And obviously, I'm losing the plot because I'm thinking, am I like, sorry, who do you think I am or who do you see me as? There is no one in your life that's going to say what I think is not the truth based on how this guy has been responding. So what's going on? You're either lying to me or you're that naive. Now, it turns out whatever she was trying to do, she was literally trying to not see what this guy was doing because she didn't want to lose the friendship. She didn't want to lose the friendship because she had known this, even though the liking happened, let's say 2 years prior, she had known this guy for a very, very long time. In fact, he was a family friend. And this guy eventually, admitted to her outright that, yeah, he, I do actually like you. But during that process of us discussing, the reason why she responded to me in a negative way is because she led with, this man is trying to control me. And she admitted that to me. And she said, but she doesn't look at that now, simply because she understands why that situation was wrong. It's just that she wasn't trying to lose it, so she was trying to look at all other angles. So I understand there is a fine line that you cross when you're letting your partner know this that you got going on here is not okay. But again, from the beginning, what was in my favor is I came into that situation already being that guy myself. Didn't have to worry about my boundaries. Didn't have to worry about who was around me. I dealt with people the way I should have, even as a single man, because I had that foresight to understand my missus, whoever I get with eventually, is going to have a problem with this. So going into it, what I said on day one was what I said on day 6, so on month 6, on month 7. So for me, don't be afraid to have these conversations from the first date. Ask. Again, like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, master the art of asking questions about it feeling like an interview and allow the person to answer. They will tell you everything, trust me. And you will see what's going on. Check what that mindset is, check what the mindset is saying. You don't even have to say, if you want to have a second or third date, you got to cut this out. Just let them speak, see where their mindset is, and then you decide whether you're going to give this person a second or third date or whatever it may be. Check where their mindset is, and if he was to get into a relationship, how it would be. Sometimes we stress ourselves in the early stages of a relationship when we actually should just be walking away because we can. You're on mute, bro.
Angela said she started wanting to go on friend dates with my man because she wanted to let me know that was her friend. I guess a territorial behavior there as well. There was a question, I think, by JR a little bit earlier on. That's the warfare right there kicking off. Who is locking off long-term purely platonic friends for a relationship that might not work? Listen, there's no locking off. I'm not saying anybody should lock off anybody. I think the key part here is understanding that if that long-term friend is really a long-term friend, that person should already know the deal before it even gets to that stage. They're a long-term friend. They should already know what it is. Which is what I'm saying to you. Like, you should already know the levels when it comes to this, right? That when I get into a relationship, there's gonna be a change. And if the other person doesn't know that after a long-term friendship, then your friend's got an issue. And you got an issue because you clearly haven't had discussions about it. You know what I'm saying to you? So I'm not saying to lock off any long-term friend. My friend is not getting locked off. Do you see what I'm saying to you? But there's a great understanding between the two of us that, hey, when I get into a relationship, like I have previously, things got to change. When you get into a relationship, things got to change. I don't call you every day. You don't call me every day. You know what I'm saying to you, right? And, there's certain conversations we don't have anymore. Okay, cool. Yeah, because that's now for you and your partner and your intimacy that you guys have. You know what I'm saying to you? You know what I mean? Whereas beforehand, you could call me and tell me about what guy you're talking to or whatever. You can't do that now. You know what I'm saying to you, all right? And I don't come now and start telling you what girl I'm dating now. Because again, some of these conversations were for when we were single. They weren't for when we're now in a relationship. So there's a great understanding that has to come into play that the relationship is going to shift and it is going to change. I think that that the reality of the situation is, it's not that people shouldn't have a friend. They should have friends. You should absolutely have friends. Please, we need them. The question is whether, again, number one, is that an actual friend? Number two, like I said, is there emotional adultery going on where we're sharing things that we shouldn't be sharing with friends? Are we too close with them? And, you know, number three, in a sense of as well, like, you know, can we be open and honest with our partner about what kind of friendship we have with that person? You know, these are all key parts as well. So yeah, just to share that part. Go for it, Jay.
No, you said it, man. I didn't even know that was JR. You know? I didn't recognize Struggle Streams the name. When did he change it? But what's going on, my bro? But I see you said something else as well. If you want to get up, bro. But if you are going to allow your partner to isolate you, or you choose to isolate yourself, just make sure that you have picked a well-balanced, loving, and caring partner, or it will not end well. So I want to talk about this because some people, if I use the word isolation, do that. They forget everyone exists and they go into a hole where no one sees them, no one hears from them, or maybe they're made to feel that they can't speak to anyone. Now, even as a man in a relationship, I've felt that way, where I couldn't speak to anyone that's a female just because of the way that my missus at the time was emotionally getting into my head. I had to ask myself, am I crazy? Like, what? This shouldn't be something come in. So that does happen. But this is a scenario that you shouldn't be in. You shouldn't want to isolate it. Well, unless you feel your friends are wicked, but you shouldn't want to isolate yourself. You shouldn't, allow anyone to isolate you. That's a different conversation. We're talking about one on a more positive spin where your friendships just change. You don't speak to people or see people as much because your energy is now focused elsewhere. Now, when it comes to picking well, I think that's what most people's problems are. We keep picking people where relationships don't work, and now we're going to have to pick up the pieces of different types of relationships outside of intimate relationships that we may have, broken or fallen off. And it just comes with the territory, man. All relationships are a risk, but over time, as you get to know the person that you're with, and you know that this is the person that's for you and it's long term, and you know all your faculties are in place to see exactly what you need to see, you will notice yourself that unless your relationships change, you're probably going to cause issues in your relationships or marriage. And this is where I think it goes back to the beginning when I was saying, when it comes to happily married people, you don't see them have this conversation. You don't see them having this issue because from early they understood what type of boundaries needs to be around and to just accept certain truths. Like me and Kojo went to an event last week where a particular lady had a best friend for what, 10 years, I think it was, like 14 to 24 or whatever it was. She was saying at no one point did she see that that he liked her, but her husband was saying, listen, this guy didn't talk to me at all. He was infringing on the time that we're supposed to be together. He was calling you at odd times. Man to man, I saw this. I know he wasn't trying to hear me at the time, but man to man, I saw this. And on the day or when he proposed, that best friend stopped speaking to her out the blue. That's where she learned, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. And they even said they actually saw that best friend 8 years later, and the guy completely ignored the wife and just started talking to, the husband. And it's just a weird situation. Just move with wisdom when it comes to people, because you never know. I said earlier on, we all know people who swore blind they're best friends, but they've also went into affairs, they're in relationships. They're like, I know a couple that are now married, happily married, but by the way, and it turns out they were just kidding themselves because they didn't want to break the friendship that they had or the best friendship that they had. So they was trying everything possible just to date other people and keep that when they realized, but they can still have that friendship as they should, that best friendship in a relationship, and also build on top of that as well. So yeah, I think definitely in this day and age, we need a lot more wisdom, a lot more understanding in the situation away from the surface level. Can we be friends? Let's have a mature convo.
Yeah, bro, and thank you for that, bro. I think that brings the conversation to a good close. Listen, if you've been listening to us, We appreciate you guys. There's probably more conversation we can have about this. But we'll be back next week to talk some more. I tell a lie, I won't be back next week, so I'm at a wedding. But we can probably do it Wednesday. I can probably squeeze it in Wednesday instead. But yeah, these conversations are really important. They're powerful because they allow us to have time just to talk about some real stuff. And if you have a different opinion, comment down below in the comment section. We'd love to hear your perspective and your different points of views. Boundaries are important. Make sure you get them as well, because let me tell you this now, you'll be having egg on your face. And I want you to understand as well, listen, just because you think the world is innocent, just know there are assassins. And I'm telling you from somebody who has been an assassin before, yes, I smile, yes, I talk good, but trust me, I was dangerous. So I know there's other people who are even more dangerous than I am. So when your man or your woman is probably telling you that they see something in that person, you might be best to open your eye a little bit, right? Maybe you don't want to quit that friendship just yet. I understand, but open your eye, right? Open your eye and actually start looking at it from a different perspective, because you might realize that your partner is trying to save you from an embarrassing situation. Because you don't want to get. Next week, maybe next week we can talk about it, because I got a story for you. Anyway, but listen, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, saluted. We'll see you again very soon. Much love, much appreciation.